Anil and I were talking a while ago about the importance of silences, and so Anil said he'd illustrate it by playing this piece. Now, I didn't hear any silences in the conventional term. I mean, when you say silence, does it actually mean the absence of sound?
Silence means the absence of contemplation in the context of music, and I knew you would react like that if I said something so deep. But it means that, this piece is called Moonlight. It's called Clair de Lune or Moonlight in French, and it's composed by Debussy. And it's meant to make you contemplate about how moonlight, if it falls over a pond or over a lake, you can imagine ripples of water where it's reflecting the moon, how it would be. And the way he creates the effect of water is by giving it what we call a sort of an arpeggio pace, which is. So if you think of yourself in a boat, and the boat is, rocking in the water, it would be like that. And when that note comes in, it's like you're suddenly seeing that reflection of the moon, right?
Where's the silence?
So what I do is, it's to give you that moment to take a pause in your thinking, because you can't keep on thinking also. It's like, imagine if you're watching a movie, sometimes in the movie, if too much action is going on throughout the movie, you'll leave that movie hall feeling exhausted, because there's too much of mental processing going on. We all switch off after a point. So that switching off point, it's a small pause, and then I go back to rocking the boat. And then it ends with a. And so silence takes on 2-3 meanings. One is, of course, the absence of sound, like you said, which is the most obvious form of silence. So if I do, that's an absence of sound, but that has no meaning. So if I do the absence of contemplation, which means that I'm giving you 2 dollops of sunlight. So I'll do. So let's say that's 2 rays of the sun, and I want you to give a moment for the audience to savor the rays of sunlight falling. So I could do. And it gives you that microsecond to take that in and then move on to the. Remember, as children, if we spoke too fast, our teachers would say slow down. So one, I said, is the absence of contemplation, is also giving the listener that second, that 2 seconds, to absorb an idea before moving on to the next. That is, to me, a more meaningful silence. And sometimes a composer deliberately puts in a silence. Those are deliberative silences. So in this piece itself, he does, in the beginning, the first few bars, he does. And he does that because he's doing this, which is one scale, and then he's changing the scale. But so before he changes the scale, he wants to give you a second to absorb the scale fully first. And there the instruction in French goes, take a long pause. And then, so from this, he's gone to a totally different scale. So you need that a little bit of a gap to be able to absorb the new note. And if I just do, it doesn't sound like moonlight, it sounds like somebody banging on your head with a hammer. So it's that which gives, the silence there is giving more meaning to the sound. And that's the interpretation that we have. And I think that sometimes in a performance, even when we interpret it as performance, we take our own pauses also. Because we have something to say with each phrase, with each sentence in the piece. And some sentences we feel are more important to us as individuals, we stop there. Because we want you to absorb that, we want you to contemplate on it before moving on to the next sentence. So maybe I'll play a little bit more from Clair de Lune by Debussy to illustrate what sentences and what silences could mean.